We worked very hard to get that American Battlefield Preservation Act passed, the reauthorized and extended to include Revolutionary and War of 1812 sites. And one of the first rounds of grants from that new bill is about $1.2 million to purchase this property right here. And so I wanted to come down and actually see the place that was going to be the beneficiary of this act that we got passed. That was the second bill I introduced in the Senate. First one was a Troop Talent Act about military getting credentials while they're in the military so they can get better employment. But the Battlefield Protection Act was the second act that I introduced. And it's nice to work on a bill and see it passed and then come and see. And there's a real life product out of the bill. So that's why I came. Sometimes we work on a lot of things and they may never come to pass, or they come to pass and they're vague in terms of what they do. There's nothing more real than real estate. So you can pass a bill and then here it is, and it's going to be protected forever. That's a good feeling.
Just this network of the land trusts and the battlefield trusts in Virginia, it's such a great network. It really is. And as you were pointing out, not competitive, cooperative. Folks help each other on their projects, often share. When one doesn't have enough resources, another one can. I mean, it's really in utilizing the tax credit programs and things like that. It's just been a real big win.
And a place like this is a good argument for the existence of a local boots on the ground sort of trust, and also the national groups like CWT, where they've got more resources to draw on. Whereas sometimes it's relationships that get a land deal done, and that's
Not
where
sometimes, almost all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Almost all the time.
so that's where the local groups really earn their
When did
stripes.
CWT form?
1996.
No, CVPT in 96.
Yeah, 96.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Trust formed as
There were
the
two
association.
organizations. One formed in 1987, and the other formed about 1991,
Is that
92.
right?
They
That
merged in
recent?
1999.
I would have thought it would have been significantly before that.
It really started with the Battle of Third Manassas.
Oh, okay, sure, with Walt Disney.
No, before Disney. This is when Till Hazel was going to take
right,
Manassas
right.
battlefield.
Okay, yeah, yep.
And that's when people said we've got to stop
Yeah, yeah.
and figure out how to do this. And that
Right.
was the modern, what we call the modern, current battlefield preservation effort started at that time.
Yeah, yeah.
And really, it's an antidote or an attempt to make sure something like that doesn't happen again. Not a development proposal, but Congress did a taking of that. Ended up costing $118 million.
Yeah.
It's the most expensive battlefield land in the history of the world, without question. And that's a lot, and it's clearly no way to save a battlefield. But
Yeah.
you have to judge its value by what it spawned as well. And it spawned this movement
Yeah.
that you see here
Okay.
today. And so the cost seems a little bit more palatable under those
When you
circumstances.
If I could put one number in perspective, I was talking to Jeb Lighthizer, our president, yesterday, and he was saying that he thinks we're now approaching $250 million, $250 million worth of land acquired between the local groups, ABP funds, land and water conservation funds, private donations. The whole commish is leveraged a fairly small amount by the states, whatever, into a huge amount of acquisition of land.
Well, it's a great story.
No, but we're separated over 145 square miles with major commuter routes between us. The developers like the same routes that the Air Generals used, and they're all major commuter routes. And we have 102 miles of boundary in the park, which is...
And you mentioned the 4 sites are just connected with Fredericksburg battlefield.
Fredericksburg, Chancellorsville,
Right, okay.
Wilderness, Spotsylvania.
Okay. So
And then we have
okay.
this place, and also the site that's called Jackson Shrine, which is where Stonewall Jackson
Right.
died, which is an interesting site in and of itself.
But just the Fredericksburg site has kind of some different components to it, right? I mean, so that it's not like one park just with a big boundary and you control everything in it.
That's right.
That's because of the development. It's all.
I mean, you see that little water tower on the distance. The land in front of that is park, and between us and there is the town, is the city of Fredericksburg. So it's a place of a lot of complexity, but a lot of texture. There's the stories of civilians exiting into the countryside. There's slaves coming free. There's street fighting. There's the first amphibious crossing of under fire in American history. All sorts of things here. But for us managing it, we typically, when the economy is good, we talk about anywhere between 20 and 40 development projects on or near our boundary. Most of which you never hear about because we have really great relationships with the localities and developers, But it is as you well know, you remember the Walmart thing.
Oh yeah.
Those are the exception rather than the rule.
That's when Bill and I got into together. Howell and I helped persuade them to move it.
And so that's what Kirsten will do. That's what we all do here.
With your help.
Yeah.
We can't do it ourselves. We're a small organization who really looks to the communities that we're embedded in and our elected officials to help us accomplish really almost anything.